Hello, and thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update, brought to you by Ag Carolina Farm Credit. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I'm a senior atmospheric scientist and co-founder of Agrible Incorporated, and I serve as the Director for Undergraduate Studies in Atmospheric Science at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. Let's start by taking a look at the last 30 days of precipitation expressed as a percent of normal. Well, here is the result of this extremely active pattern we've seen along the East Coast. Look at it. We have had some pockets stretching all the way from the Panhandle of Florida clear to Maine that have seen between 300 and 600% of normal rainfall. And North and South Carolina have certainly seen their fair share. The very end of it, over the last 3 days, has continued to drop more precipitation, including some severe weather in parts of North and South Carolina here, as the last of these storms, as a part of that first system, moved on through. Look at this. We still added in some locations another 3 inches of rain. So it has been an absolute deluge of rain recently. So it's important that we take this and put this in the back of our minds as we look toward the forecast to understand what we're going to see in the near future in terms of more precipitation. Now, before I go any farther, I have to show you this. One of the things that has really plagued a lot of our forecasts recently, and I've been kind of discussing this, is we've had some rather low predictability when it comes to our forecasts. Now check this out. One of my colleagues, Dr. Ryan Maui, produces this figure, and it compares the performance of the European model, which is the one I favor showing you, the GFS model, that's a US model, the Canadian model, and the model run over in the UK. And it shows you this. Since the end of July, here into the first week of August, model predictability has gone substantially downward. That's a pretty large drop in its ability to predict what's happening. So this is a correlation between what the models have been saying and reality. And therefore, predictability right now is extremely low, and we have to talk about that. But speaking of predictability, check this out. You've probably heard a lot about the incredible fires that are raging out west. Well, this is a map that is showing you the forecast by the HRRR, that's the High Resolution Rapid Refresh, of near surface smoke. That's right, we are actually producing smoke in those fires out west, which are enormous. And those fires are producing smoke that's actually getting ingested in thunderstorms that are all the way over here in the Central Plains. And we also have to talk about those thunderstorms in the Central Plains because those storms and the boundary they're forming on will eventually get all the way down here to the southeast and be possibly a system onto which we could get some more showers and thunderstorms. Well, the unpredictable atmosphere is actually summarized in this animation. It's not the Atlantic, it's the Pacific that is changing everything. We've got Hurricane Hector, a Cat 4, going to go south of Hawaii. We have John, Ileana, and even another system forming next to it. We have a massive cutoff low next to a huge high-pressure system, and there's a large typhoon over toward Japan. Now, why am I telling you about this for the Carolinas? Remember, your weather comes from the west, and these features are continually perturbing the flow of the jet stream. Well, what are we dealing with right now in the Carolinas? There's a big area of higher atmospheric pressure, and the flow around it right here means we're going to move back into our more typical diurnal convective pattern. So that diurnal convective pattern is going to be one where we get afternoon showers and thunderstorms. But it's this front right in through here that we're going to be watching as a major player in our weather moving forward. Oh, also, see how fast the winds are in here? We'll talk about those again in a few moments. All right. On Monday, most of the severe weather is going to be focused from the Great Lakes all the way through the Corn Belt, getting back over toward Colorado. But because the atmosphere is going to have plenty of moisture and there's going to be a circulation around a big area of high pressure in through here, we're going to have, well, our normal diurnal convection, pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Let me show them to you here. This is an animation getting us through much of the day on Monday into Tuesday. And what you're going to see is the models around that high pressure system are going to develop, look at this, in the heating in the afternoon, these popcorn showers and thunderstorms, while the main system still stretched across the Corn Belt. You saw it again there. Look at this, the heating of the day. There they pop on Monday. So that's what the beginning of our week is going to start off with in terms of precipitation. But watch what happens as we move throughout the week. This is an animation by the European model. As I walk this forward, look, we just see Monday, Tuesday, the pop-up showers and storms. But it will be a boundary moving through this part of the country Tuesday into Wednesday that stalls out right in through here by the time I get in toward the end of the week. Now, that boundary is actually going to be a bigger player for temperatures in the Carolinas rather than precipitation. You see, much of the precipitation is going to be stretched back into parts of the mid-Mississippi River Valley, getting over to Oklahoma and Texas toward the end of the week after it passes through the Corn Belt. It's not as though it's going to be a dry week. A lot of thunderstorm activity here in the southeast and in the Carolinas, but most of the heavy stuff is going to be to your north and to your west. Now, going much beyond this weekend is not smart because model predictability beyond this point is relatively low. But that front as it sags south is going to be a major player for weather, especially temperatures, in the southern states moving forward. And let me show what I'm talking about. You see, this is some pretty cool stuff. Over here on the left, this is a map that shows you 500 millibar vorticity, that's spin in the atmosphere. Now let me show you what I watch for when I look at this. As I play this forward here, oops, there we go. As I play this forward, there we are. What we're going to be seeing here is this big ridge building out west. Now that ridge building out west is significant for the East Coast because this trough dives across the East Coast. The heat building under that ridge, that's going to be continual fuel for the fires out there. But watch this. This is a really cool atmospheric phenomena. That ridge not only builds, but begins to break like a wave breaking on the ocean. And as it breaks here across southern Canada, it's going to break over a cutoff low. Now, why is that significant for the southeast? Well, if this happens next weekend, we will be wrapping bands of vorticity, that spin in the atmosphere, around that cutoff low. And that could bring repeated chances for thunderstorms here in the southeast, in the Carolinas. And that may not move out until middle of next week. What this means in terms of temperatures, we'll watch this. Ridge builds out west, there it goes. And that ridge out west brings in heat here. General troughing across the east means near average to cooler than average temperatures. See now the wave break over the top of that cutoff low? That's going to be incredibly interesting to watch. What does all this mean? The well above average temperatures are going to be in the northern plains, with much of the southern states here at near average to cooler than average weather. Let me show this to you. Here's an animation of 2-meter temperatures at 6 feet off the ground. We're looking here at differences from normal. And as we play this out, what we see here is through parts of the Carolinas, yeah, Monday, Tuesday, you may be near average, maybe a couple degrees above it. But watch as that front slides south. You see, we go from this pattern we've had seen at times in the past, very warm, now back down to more reasonable, more normal temperatures. As we get into where that cutoff low develops, this is toward the end of the weekend, look at the cooler weather that tends to set up here in the southeast. So what am I telling you? Expect near average temperatures through much of this week. Diurnal convection, normal thunderstorms in the afternoon. But possibly in the next weekend, all that heat will be way up here in the northern plains, with a trough that brings in cooler than average weather to a lot of the southeast and southern states. Now, looking beyond next week is not a smart idea right now, given how low the model performance has been in picking up on the pattern. There's just no point in doing it. But that's why we give you weekly updates, so you can use these videos to help plan your operations. All right, let's talk about the tropics now in the Atlantic. Why do we not see much going on? We have higher than average atmospheric pressure there. Remember, hurricanes are low pressure systems. Higher than average pressure means they're not there to form. Next, hurricanes hate wind shear. Wind shear shears them apart. Look in the main development region off of the coast of Africa, through the open Atlantic, into the Caribbean, into the Gulf. Much higher than average wind shear. That shears hurricanes apart. And you know that hurricanes thrive on warm water. We have a large section currently where hurricanes development, that's cooler than average. That suppresses hurricane activity. Now, that's not to say that ocean temperatures aren't warm enough in the area that I'm kind of coloring right now, which means any system that could get in here where I'm kind of scribbling could certainly blow up. That's the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, and Western Atlantic. But at this point, because this is so cool over here, well, that's going to really act to suppress the hurricane season. That's why the National Hurricane Center currently is not forecasting the development of anything major in the main development region for the next 5 days. Oh, let's add to it this animation. That is Saharan dust. You see, right now, any would-be system that could form in the open Atlantic has to chew on this dust. And that dust helps to erode and evaporate and destroy those showers and thunderstorms. So we have a lot of things working against the development of any tropical systems. And why I'm telling you that, you're so wet right now in the Carolinas and up the East Coast that we don't want to see any more heavy precipitation events until we finally let some of this run off and soak in. So I've shown you, at least the tropics aren't going to be bringing that anytime soon. Lastly, I keep giving you an update about what's going on in Europe. I want to tell you that we will be seeing a front finally moving through much of Europe by the time we get toward the end of this week. You're looking at a map here valid for Friday of this week, showing the cool down we'll be seeing from Spain through parts of France, getting over to Germany, and eventually here into Poland. Until then, the UK, Spain, France, Germany, Poland, very, very warm until this front finally arrives. But hopefully that gives you some perspective not only in U.S. weather, but weather in the Pacific, the Atlantic, and in Europe. But with that, I think I'm going to go and wrap up this forecast video. We at Ag Carolina, thank you for your attention. We look forward to our next update coming out next week. Thank you.